The rain started just as I stepped off the bus, that sharp, sudden downpour that turns the world gray in seconds. My hair clung to my neck, my clothes already soaked through, and I cursed myself for not checking the forecast before heading to Maya's house. Maya, my best friend, had texted earlier that she'd be out with her boyfriend and that her mom, Elise, would be home. "You can still come by if you want," she'd said. I hadn't planned to, but something inside me, something I couldn't name, made me go anyway. By the time I reached their front porch, I was dripping and shivering. I rang the bell once, hugging myself for warmth. The door opened slowly, and there she was, Elise, in a soft cream sweater and jeans, barefoot, her hair tied loosely in a bun. The warm light from inside framed her like a painting. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice soft but full of concern. "You're drenched." Before I could even explain, she reached out, taking my wrist gently and pulling me inside. The scent of her perfume, warm vanilla and something floral, wrapped around me. "Come here," she murmured, grabbing a towel from the hallway. She began dabbing my hair, her fingers brushing my cheek. "You'll catch a cold walking like that." Her touch made my chest tighten in a way I didn't understand. I'd always liked Elise, not just as Maya's mom, but as this quietly magnetic woman who seemed to see right through you. She had this calm confidence that made everyone else slow down. "I should have checked the weather," I said, forcing a laugh. She smiled faintly, the corners of her lips curving. "You always forget the little things." That familiarity, the way she said it, made my stomach flutter. I had no idea she noticed me like that. "Go change," she said, gesturing down the hall. "Maya's clothes should still fit you." When I came back in a borrowed sweater, the rain had gotten heavier. The world outside was a blur of streetlights and silver droplets. Elise was standing by the kitchen window, her arms crossed, watching the storm. "You always loved the rain, didn't you?" she said without turning around. I hesitated, surprised she remembered. "Yeah, it's peaceful." "Peaceful," she repeated softly. "Or lonely." Something in her tone made me look closer. She wasn't smiling. The reflection in the window showed her eyes, distant, tired, like she was somewhere else entirely. "Where's Maya tonight?" I asked, though I already knew. "With her boyfriend," she said simply. "She's growing up so fast. I used to be the person she told everything to." Her voice cracked slightly. I didn't know what to say, so I stood beside her, both of us watching the storm. The only sound was rain on the glass. After a moment, she whispered, almost to herself, "Stay with me tonight. It's too late to go back." I looked at her then, really looked, and something in her eyes felt like a confession neither of us had ever dared to make. The house felt quieter than usual, like even the walls knew something was different that night. Elise made tea, 2 mugs, and sat across from me at the dining table. The candlelight flickered between us. "You don't have to," I said finally, unsure what she meant by "stay with me." "I know," she replied softly, "but I'd like you to." Her voice wasn't commanding. It was tired, fragile, honest. We talked, at first about simple things, college classes, Maya, how I was doing. But then the conversation began to slide into places we never went before. She asked about my dreams, the people I dated, the kind of person I wanted to become. And when she spoke about herself, I realized how little I actually knew her. She told me how her marriage ended quietly, like sand slipping through fingers, how she'd been lonely for years before anyone even noticed. "I keep the lights on at night sometimes," she said, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug, "just to feel less alone." That broke something in me. "You don't seem like the kind of person who feels lonely." Her smile was small. No one ever does, until it's dark. We sat there for what felt like hours, our conversation becoming slower, softer, like the rain outside. Then, as I got up to put my mug away, Elise reached out, her hand brushing mine. Neither of us moved. Do you ever think that sometimes the right people meet at the wrong time? I nodded, my throat tight. All the time. Her eyes glistened. She let go of my hand, almost reluctantly. Later, as I got ready to sleep in the guest room, I could still feel her warmth on my skin. The air between us was charged with all the things we didn't say. Before I turned off the lamp, there was a soft knock. Elise stood in the doorway, her face partly in shadow. "I just wanted to say goodnight," she murmured. "Good night," I whispered back. She hesitated, then smiled, faint, almost broken, and left. But neither of us really slept that night. I woke to the sound of birds and faint light pushing through the curtains. The rain had stopped. The house smelled like coffee and something sweet. Pancakes, maybe. Elise was in the kitchen, humming softly, her hair a little messy. She looked different in the daylight, more fragile somehow, but still impossibly beautiful. "You didn't have to make breakfast," I said, trying to sound normal. She smiled. "It's what people do when they care." Something inside me melted. We ate quietly. Every glance, every pause felt loaded. I wanted to say something, to thank her, to tell her I didn't want the night to end, but words felt too small. Finally, she broke the silence. "You should go before Maya gets back." There it was, the reality pressing in. "Right," I said, but I didn't move. She sighed, setting her coffee down. "Last night, maybe it shouldn't have happened, but I don't regret it." Neither did I. But I didn't know how to tell her that. I stood, grabbed my bag, and paused at the door. "Will I see you again?" She looked at me, her eyes soft, full of everything she couldn't say aloud. "Maybe," she whispered. "But if not, just remember, some people don't need forever to mean it." I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. Then I stepped out into the clean, wet morning air. The world smelled of rain and endings. Behind me, I heard the faint sound of the door closing, a soft final click that felt like a heartbeat stopping. As I walked down the street, the memory of her voice followed me, gentle, aching, eternal. "Stay with me tonight." And I realized I already had, in more ways than one.